Okay. There's nothing so sure as software changes. So we can't keep up. So I believe on Monday, Louise will send out the recording of this session with Fred, the free satsang Saturday, and there'll be some other information in her email to let you all know if you would like to proceed on with us with something. Louise will give you those opportunities. But until then, we're so glad to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here. I'm assuming, hopefully, that other people have not gotten all involved in their Saturday, or that they know that this starts at Eastern time. We always do have some people that will be showing up at 2 p.m. Eastern time instead of 1. But I'll be around to let them in. Thank you all very much, and I will turn it over to Fred.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to Satsang. Everybody that's supposed to be here is here. I'm glad to see that. Because you can't not be here. So what I want to do is I want to start this with a little group. It's basically a meditation, but it's not trying to get anywhere else or do anything else or have anything else happen. We just want to, I want to notice the sense of being, and which is really, so what I'm saying is before we ever start the meeting, I'd like for you to go ahead and notice your true nature. And if there's any mystery as to where your true nature is, or I mean, I don't know what it is, but I can tell you how to find it. And it's, you'll just notice, if you will, that there's a sense of aliveness in the body. There's a very strong sense that you are here. And whatever here, whatever here might mean, we don't really know, but there's the sense that there's a here and that we're here. And if you'll notice a little bit more closely, there is there will be a sort of, it can be like a little electrical pulse or a feeling, like a warmth or just a livingness. It's not actually in the body, but the body is a good medium. It feels like it's in the body. It feels like it is the body, if you, at sometimes. In the body, is the body. Neither one of those things is true, but that's the way it'll feel to us. This is the sense of being. Nothing can happen in the absence of the sense of being. If there's no observing, there's no observed. No hearer, no hearing. No seer, no seeing. Even when it feels like we're doing, there's no doing, but it feels like it. So this sense of being is a sense of aliveness, of your being present here, right now. Let's just rest with that. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. So we've noticed the sense of being. We've noticed our true nature. We didn't have to look for it. In fact, when you're out there and you're looking for your true nature, you're moving in the wrong direction because you're moving outward, looking for where's oneness? It's got to be out here somewhere. And where's this thing I'm looking for? Is it up or is it down? Is it far away? What is it? And when we're noticing, just look, and if you will, sounds like a play on words, but it's really not. Just notice what's noticing. How is that happening? Do you have to notice? Do you have to do something in order to notice? Can you actually be here and not notice? It's it just happens. There's noticing in the same way. How do we start hearing? We get up in the morning, like, well, I think I'm going to start hearing now. I mean, we don't have to do that. It's there. Hearing happens. We don't have to kickstart the lungs every morning. It's back when I was a heavy smoker, I might have had to, but that's been almost 25 years ago. So, what's noticing is also what's being noticed. The sense of being that feels like it's in the body. But just check right now, see, is the sense of being in your body? Go outward, if you will, and tell me, can you find a boundary to the sense of being? Can you find any place where the sense of being stops? There's no place where the sense of being stops. There's no boundary. There's no boundary to this sense of being. Can we possibly pick out a center to focus on? Where is the center when there's no boundary? Is there a center when there's no boundary? No boundary, no center. Because a center is what's something that's equidistant from the boundary, all the way around. So, no boundary, no center. What are you? No need to ask, where are you? There's only here. And that's only now. Can you find a past to this now? No, there's just this now. There are memories, but those memories are not yours. They're just memories. They just arise in the same way that thoughts just arise. The thoughts that arise in what it feels like is your head are actually not your thoughts. You're not a user of thought. Thought kind of trips you up because you don't use it yourself. It's difficult for you to discriminate. So when a thought, which is the sense of a center, there is a sense of a center, and that's a thought. It may feel like it's the body or in the middle of the body, or it may feel like it stops at the chair or the room or whatever. It doesn't stop. You don't stop. You have no boundary and no center. So what you are necessarily is this sense of being, or it's as close as we can get. The sense of being is prior even to I am. I am is language, and language is symbolic. Saying the sense of being is also symbolic. Noticing it without saying anything. Noticing it without a need to say anything. Just notice that you are here. And the space that we are in feels like we're inside space, doesn't it? Feels like we're objects among many other objects and that we're all in space, resting or squirming or whatever. That's not really true. The space itself is your body. When you are the space, is there such a thing as other? When you are simply this space within which everything appears, I don't want to say everything is. That may be a thought, but it's not your actual experience. It's a thought that's covering up the actual experience. Which is there's a sense of being here, but that's not a statement of being. Are you being? Well, if there's a sense of being, there has to be something a little bit under that, or a little bit before that, a little bit after that, or a little bit on top of that. There's no other, but there is a sense of depth. The sense of being is representative of us. We could say that that is us within relativity. That wouldn't be true, but we could say that. And it wouldn't be unskillful. It just wouldn't be true. Because we are the space. Can there be a we, actually? That's just a term to keep the language straight. It's not a reality. There's no we anywhere. The dualistic experience that we call relativity, or that we call, a lot of us think it's what's true, which I mean in the true world. Well, you can't leave the true world, and you're never in relativity. You are the space. Where does relativity occur? Does it relativity occur outside of space? How about time? Does time occur within space? Does it occur outside of space? What can occur outside of space? nothing that we would call relative. Not a thought, not a movement, not a shiver. The wholeness of being is this wholeness here. The wholeness of being, when there is a sense of being, the wholeness of being is capable of knowing itself objectively. It doesn't need to know itself objectively. It doesn't need anything. Whatever it is that we are, it is wantless, desireless. It's not about being happy and joyful in the way that we normally think of those things. It's about contentment and the quiet joy, if we can use that word. The quiet joy, the subtle joy, the silent joy of being this, of knowing that you are already home. To find home is to lose home immediately, to go to find home. To look at me and hope that I'm going to help you find your true nature is just impossible. Because there's no I and there's no you. There's only true nature. There's true nature within a play, within a movie. True nature is like the feeling that we get from the set of the movie. It's the hum of life in a movie. Matter of fact, you may notice that in this picking of yourself out, how do you pick yourself out? There's nothing else to pick. But there may be a humming, and that may feel like some other humming or some new humming, but it's not other and it's not new. This humming has been going on really since the dawn of time. Was it going on before that? We can't know anything in the absence of time. If we just leave time alone, don't have to reject it forcibly, just leave it be. Just notice right now. In the absence of a body, you don't have one. You're using these bodies, but not directly. The bodies are just happening. Just like everything else, the bodies are happening. Scenes are happening. Content is happening. It's apparent content. But there's nothing, in the absence of an observer, there's no observed. So prior to the sense of being, we don't want to say that there's nothing. We don't actually know, do we? It doesn't feel to me like it's nothing, but it doesn't, but I have no clue what that which is prior to time and space could know. Can you find a problem in the absence of a body? Can you really? No. when you realize that the problems in your mind are not you, it's not your problems or your mind, how important is it? If you don't have the body to defend or promote, is there any such thing as before or after, as this or that? Time and space are the first inventions. You don't exist within time and space. That's the reason we don't know what it is that we are. We can't imagine it because it's not within time or space. And we can't imagine that which is imagining. And what is that which is imagining right now that it's this little group of bodies in this little room. It's imagining that there's a year and a month and a day and a date. None of those things are true. There is a knowing, but it's a knowing that comes through not just with thought. It's not isolated. You can't find that knowing. You can't even say it's my knowing. You can't, because there is no you. Within infinity, is there an infinity plus us? There's no infinity plus us. There's no infinity plus. There's just infinity. And infinity does not mean a great deal of time. It means no time. And everything that happens here, us sitting in this room, us having gotten here, us having eaten breakfast or washed the dishes or taken a walk, it's all a dream. But it's not the unit's dream. It's not the body's dream. It feels like we hear that everything is a dream and we think, oh, I'm dreaming this. I see, I'm dreaming all of this. But that's stopping a little short of the truth. You are being dreamed. Your life is not living. You are being lived. And when I say you are being lived, I mean the body is being lived. You are beyond birth or death. You are prior even to the sense of being. If we can say prior, what does that mean? That intimates time, but I don't know how to say anything without using the conventions that we have within what we call relativity. But you can see now that relativity is simply a dream. The truth is always this, here, now, exactly as it is. It doesn't matter whether you think this is it or not, it is. You're not commanded in any way or even asked to believe in the truth. But if you want to find the truth, more than you want to find the personality. In my case, if I want to find the truth, and I did want to find the truth, more than I wanted to find a glorified Fred who had just woken up to the truth, because that's not true. There's nobody who wakes up. There's the noticing by what we can call awakeness. We have no idea what awakeness is. We can't even name it, but we have to talk about it. So this thing that is this apparent awakeness, even consciousness arises from that. Consciousness is not other than that, but consciousness does not equal awakeness. Nothing equals awakeness. It can't. It's the only thing there is. So in this oneness, let's enjoy ourselves and let's get to know each other. Anyone who wants to talk is welcome to. You can raise your hand if you would. Cindy, please. How are you, Cindy? It's good to see you.
Hi, Fred. Yes, good to see you too.
Thank you.
Um, could you say a little more about that whole consciousness thing there at the end?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So if there was no consciousness right now, what could you know? And in the absence of consciousness, is there even a you to know? Where are you if there's no consciousness? So consciousness is what everything is made from. Consciousness is the base from which all other things arise. There is the noticing, that initial noticing of the sense of being. Now, the sense of being itself is prior to that noticing. The noticing of the sense of being is I am. I've just discovered that I am. But have you really discovered that you are, or have you discovered that there's a sense of being? The sense that you are is a story. The subject is I, and the predicate is am. I am. So the sense of being doesn't give anything. It doesn't give us any clues. We're left in complete mystery, which is not a bad thing. Because the idea that this is a font of wisdom over here is just not true. I know far little than most of you. I may know less than all of you. I don't know. I just know because I don't know what I don't know. There's just the unimaginable, which it's, and that's still a symbol trying to get something else across, and there you can't, because it's beyond symbolism. It can't point to it. We talk about you can point to it, but really what we point to usually is the sense of being. And when we notice the sense of being, that's the doorway, the true doorway into that mystery. With consciousness, there's a Fred, there's a room, there's a you, there's a them, there's a computer, there are books, there's a world, cars, buildings, streets, libraries, wars, poverty, because it doesn't appear to be a very fair world. You know why it doesn't appear to be a very fair world? Well, for one thing, it's not really a fair world. Somebody started a rumor millennia ago that our experience should be fair and even. It wasn't their experience. They just recognized that that's the way it should be because that's the way they wanted it. And from that desire for things to be just right arose all the misery in the world. Because there's no such thing as a one-ended stick. This, if it's got an end, there's a stick. It's like saying that, it's exactly like saying that the yin, a yin, but not a yang. That can't be. It has to, we call it a yin yang to indicate that it's appearing as two, but it's really one thing appearing as two. So if we call this relativity, which is this and that, what you really are is this, that which is prior to this and that. And you don't know yourself until consciousness arises. Consciousness uses beings as a medium through which it can, this is, don't try to follow this with logic, just go with it. Because there's nothing logical here. It's not going to come out logically. There's nothing here until there's consciousness. And consciousness arises how? It arises through beings. There's a sense that you are being conscious. Consciousness uses these beings. And what does it create? Does it create anything? It doesn't actually create anything, but it is everything. But everything is not being created. There's no like, well, it used to be a little thing and now it's growing. It used to be a light thing and now it's getting dark. There's just nothing that we can see, nothing we can report on until we notice there's a sense of being. And the sense of being, it's arising, but it's not arising to anyone. There can't be any one until consciousness has first made its play. Once consciousness is here, everything else arises. And it's not made to arise, it's not asked to arise, it's not demanded to arise. You cannot make it arise, and you can't make it change. We think that we have consciousness, and there's some kind of little relative thing going on, but it's not our consciousness. It's everything. And it is what everything is made out of. Let me put it that way. That's much better. Everything is consciousness. Consciousness is all things, and all thoughts, all sensation, all measurement, all sense of duration. That's consciousness. What is prior to consciousness? We don't know. You don't know yourself until there's consciousness. Go ahead, please. I'm so sorry it's taking so long. Just happened. Okay, Cindy, did I get the over answer of the year award yet?
No, I loved it. I loved it.
Oh, wonderful. Good. I'm glad to hear.
So could you say, just in getting to know your terminology here, could you say that the way you use the word awakeness is like the mystery?
Yeah.
Mystery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the mystery that we can't define. We can't really say it starts anywhere or it ends anywhere. It never began and it will never end. It's just because there's no beginning and ending happens only in time. So their consciousness arises, and there's a beginning and an end to localized consciousness. Localized consciousness is the sense that not just I am, but I am Fred. And I am here, meaning that Fred is here.
So you could say I am consciousness,
You can say that, yes, ma'am.
but
And
that's kind of a relative statement, would you say? Or,
it's a very, very skillful statement. Um, it is a relative statement only in the sense that it's referencing that there's an I and a consciousness. That I am consciousness, and there's just the tiniest bit of division there. It's really skillful. It's we can't say that consciousness is not you. That's a better way to put it. We certainly can't say that consciousness is not you, because you are everything. But we can notice that there's no definition of really of what consciousness is, much less that which is prior. We can't know. We want to know what's prior to consciousness. Well, it's prior to consciousness. Consciousness cannot grasp it, cannot capture it for us, right? Isn't that frustrating? And so what we do is we take what we get. And right now, what we have is right now. We have this moment. This moment is not after some previous moment. Even, my references to prior is just a language, just languaging. It doesn't have anything to do with really prior. But what is prior to consciousness? That's what you really are. And this is your manifesting expression. This is your expression. So since it's your expression, it is yours, but it doesn't equal you. Nothing equals you because you're the one thing that has no yang or no yin. You have no opposite. And what we think is that this isn't quite right, but that's because what we do is we're comparing. We're comparing this with what? With imagination. This isn't the way it should be. Okay, King of the universe, tell us. Okay, God, tell us how it should be since this ain't it. There is no alternative to this. That's all fantasy. It's all imagination. Nisargadatta Maharaj, the teacher I most heavily identify with, used to say that this teaching, mine's not identical, but it ain't far away from it. He and I would have trouble finding something to argue about. But he used to say that this teaching is freedom from imagination. And what he really means by that is that it is imagination is not something that we need to get rid of. It doesn't exist. It's just, there's nothing to it. There's nothing in it. How do you get rid of something when it's not really here? That void, we can say, it's not really a that, but I don't know how else to talk about it, is that from which all things, which means is that from which consciousness arises. So I am, which is the announcement of consciousness. It's almost the end. And it feels like the end for most people. But once you find out that it's not, then for many of us begin to feel that, begin to see that. Okay. Because when we say this is it, we're talking about, well, this is it. When I say this is it, I don't mean this is relativity. There is no relativity. The non-duality that everybody's seeking to is their experience right now. You are right in the middle of the non-dual experience. Fredness is a non-dual experience for itself, not for you, because there's no you. There's no me. There's it, there's that, and you are that. So we don't want to say you don't. you don't exist, but really, whatever it is that you are, it's beyond existing and not existing. It's beyond life or death. No opposite. So when there's no opposite, recognize that there's no alternative. What imagination does is fill us full of alternatives to this, which don't exist, which is how much better it is than it used to be. When's the used to be? Where's the used to be? I can only say used to be right now. And that's my imagination. I don't actually know about anything past. The unit professes to, although it doesn't profess to much of a memory anymore. But there is some memory for the body. The body is still functional. We can say it's only functional within relativity, but what's our actual daily experience? It's what we call relativity. But and then we say, yeah, well, there's relativity, and then there's the one thing. No. There's the one thing which is all inclusive, which means it's non-dual. It's not two. There's nothing outside of non-duality to recognize duality, to recognize non-duality. Non-duality doesn't come to dawn to a Fred or a Cheryl. Non-duality dawns on itself when it notices, oh, there's a sense of being, and it's just a matter of time before that vague sense of being. Because when you wake up first thing in the morning, do you wake up? I don't wake up going, I am Fred. There's just awakeness, it's just a sense of awakening. But shortly after that, Fred will begin to groan about pains and everything else because he's old. Old age is a blessing, but it's not as big a one as you might think. Consciousness is indistinguishable from anything else because consciousness is all. There's a very good book, my friend of mine, and I haven't talked to him in years, but we used to email each other, and Peter Zubin, and it's called Consciousness is All. And if you just want to get beat to death with consciousness is all, and if you just want to have that go through and through, if you want to go that over and over and over again in a book, his book will do it. You will either notice that consciousness is all, or you will go crazy and shut the book. I knew before I ever read that consciousness was all. I knew true nature, but not the way that I did at the end of that book. I wrote him about it. That's how we became friends. Is actually I reviewed it, and he saw the review, and he told me that's when everything really started, which was cool. I did myself a favor. There's no Peter, and I didn't really do it. It just couldn't. It just happened, and it couldn't have not happened because there's no alternative. When we mean you just have to surrender to now, we don't mean now or. We just mean this. And when we say you just need to surrender to this, we're talking about this. We're talking about this exact this precise this. And then somebody will inevitably say, but I don't get it. And I understand. I couldn't see it until I couldn't not see it. And some would not call me a quick learner. It didn't take me but 24 years of seeking to come to realization. I actually came to realization after 10 years, but it was quickly gobbled up. It may have happened to you. Awakeness has introduced itself to itself through some sort of relative experience, is what it feels like. It feels like the character is having a special experience. That's the most beautiful thing. Not for everybody, but for many of us, it's just the most beautiful thing ever. It's just wonderful. It's just, oh. Can't really describe it because it too is beyond language. The experiencing of that is beyond language. You can't put symbols on that. That is from which all symbols, that is that from which all symbols are grown. Brian, come in, please. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Fred. Been
Thank
a
you
while.
very much.
Yeah, it's probably been at least a couple of years, I think.
I would think it's been too long.
Something. Yeah, it feels like that. Yeah. Yeah, no question really, Fred. Just wanted to say hello and touch base and give a little bit of a report, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I was a participant in your very first skillful means course,
Oh, yes, that's where
which
we
was
well, that's a long time ago, isn't it?
a long time ago. Yeah, I think I visited once or twice since then, but
Yeah, I've seen you.
yeah,
I've also seen you when I've given a talk somewhere else or something. I think you may have been in the room.
I may have been. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, the skillful means course was incredible and very helpful here. And I think we've talked about this before, but it was like a month or two after that, there was a fundamental shift here in perspective, and the experience and was quite profound at the time. It only lasted for several hours, I guess, but like we've talked
Say
about
that,
before.
Brian. When you
Sorry?
say it lasted for several hours, tell me
Yeah.
first, who was it that woke up?
Well, consciousness woke up to itself. That's
Consciousness doesn't wear a watch. So
yeah,
to the
that's right.
unit, it feels
Yeah,
like it only lasted several hours, like it
yeah,
came on and it went off. But
yeah, yeah,
where does oneness go when it's got the day off?
yeah. I would say it was more like the intensity
Yes, I
of
know
that
exactly
of
what you
that.
mean.
Yeah,
I
the
felt that way
intensity
too.
of that opening.
All of
That's
us feel that. And we
was
feel
it.
like, and we
Yeah,
report, I got it, but I lost it.
yeah. Well, there wasn't that experience for me
Good.
because I think just probably from being on the path for so many years that I understood at a deeper
Yeah.
level that
Yeah.
the spiritual experience, as we call it,
Yeah.
will fade over time.
Yes. That's
For
right.
some people it lasts maybe days in terms of time. For
Mhm.
some people it might last months or whatever.
Yeah,
For
and
me,
I'm not going to outlaw references to time. I was
yeah,
really kind of teasing you.
yeah. No, I hear you. Um, for me, it was 3 or 4 hours, but that was a beautiful 3 or 4 hours, and in that time span, it was timeless because the experience, although I say like consciousness woke up to itself, which
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
direct experience here,
Right.
it had the sense or the feeling of divinity waking up to itself, God, you could say,
I would
as
that's
all of
not too
this.
far off. Right.
Yeah, as all of this.
It is.
It saw itself as all of this
That's
in a
it.
split second, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and
It just saw the truth.
it saw the truth
It just saw itself
of
clearly.
what it is. Yes, and as beautiful as that was, I would say the most important aspect of that shift was the what I call the download, which
Yes,
was really that the waking up to the fact that Brian is the dream.
that's right.
This
So
character called Brian is the dream.
your experiences like mine was, Brian. I mean, the sense that the important part was the download.
Yeah.
Some people, it's not.
Mm,
Most people, it's not. Most people
mm.
remember the experience. You don't remember the download. You just
Yeah,
recognize that you are the download, if you will.
that's right. Yeah. Well, it brings to memory a famous quote by a Zen master, which was sudden illumination, gradual cultivation.
Yeah,
And that's the way it was here. It was that sudden illumination experience, which the grokking or the understanding of that never went away, really.
no,
It hasn't gone away. It's
doesn't
just that
stop either.
the peak experience was what faded over time.
Mhm.
and the
The
cultivation
experience for the unit, really,
for the unit. Yeah,
right? It was just, oh, that was great. Let's do that again.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, and also, oh my God, how could I have missed this all these
Yes.
years?
Yes. How do you miss? How do
How could
you
I
miss?
miss this? So
Yes, we did.
simple.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
simplicity itself, really.
yeah.
Once it's seen, that's the other, I guess you could say, download was once it's seen, you can't unsee it. At least that's the experience here.
If it's seen deeply like you have, you'll not completely unsee it. You can't define what you saw. You can't
Hmm.
remember what you saw, but you can't forget whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it is what you are, and the the cat's out of the bag, and they're
yeah.
right.
That's right. No getting them back in.
No, it's just,
Yeah,
yeah, that's beautiful. That's a great. Go ahead, please.
yeah. And in relation to what you were speaking of earlier, um, Nisargadatta, as you talked about, he called that, which is prior to consciousness, the absolute,
Mhm.
which of course you're well familiar with. But also, I think it was his teacher that called it the supreme reality or the supreme
Yeah,
being. And the understanding here is that that recognition of I am, that I am, I exist, the sense of beingness, as you call it. Uh, who is it that says that? Who is it that has that recognition, right? So
divinity.
that's the first split in a sense, right? It's that
That's,
universal I,
that's the
which
paradox.
all of us are. There's not an I here and an I there and I, all these different I's. It's
Right.
one I. The one I now says or has the recognition that it exists because before that, it
Yeah.
doesn't really.
No, it doesn't know. We're not saying it didn't exist.
Yeah,
We're saying
exactly.
it didn't know
It
itself.
didn't know itself. Yes.
It doesn't
Yeah.
know itself until it does.
Yeah.
And when it does, this springs
Yeah.
forth.
So the birth of that I amness is the birth of knowledge also. That's the experience here. So, and then all knowing then emerges from that, flows out of that original knowingness of existence that I am, right? And then all of this, the knowledge of all of this so-called relative world unfolds from that.
I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you have said this, and I'm glad we have it on tape because it is as good a representation of awakening as I have ever heard, and better than almost all.
Hmm. Speaking from the heart.
Yes, and thank you so much for your email. It really, really touched me. Some little while ago now, but
Yeah, yeah, that was
it was
definitely a
really,
heart connection there too.
yeah, right. And Betsy felt the very same.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that, Fred,
Yeah, you bet.
and thank you, Betsy, too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Nice to touch base with you.
yeah. Good to, very, very good to see you again.
Yeah,
Good to, not that you've been.
the oneness listening, and the oneness talking.
That's it. This is oneness talking to oneness about oneness
Yeah.
because
What else is there?
it's it. So when we say, I don't get it, that's a declaration right there where oneness is saying, I'm not having the oneness experience, says oneness, which is an impossibility. The only experience that oneness can has is of itself because there's nothing else. Cheryl, please.
Hi, Fred. Hi,
Hey, how are you?
everyone. I'm well, thank you. Nice to see everyone.
Yeah,
Fred, I was wondering if you could shed some wisdom on the relationship of karma in
yeah,
general.
yeah. So the karma that we hear about, that we most often hear about, it doesn't really exist because it's the idea that I have done something wrong and therefore I'm going to be punished for it. There's no I and there's no wrong. There's the doing with what it is, the happening of what is. So the karma is an experience, and it happens through a unit, which means that something is connected to something else, which tells you that it's really just it's a relative thing. It's not part of it's not absolute truth. It's a relative experience, which is there's an I, and I did something good or bad, and therefore something else will happen from that. And there's no something else. There's only oneness. And what happens is appearances may change. All of these, there's this, the truth of this, the absolute truth of this, and then there are these appearances, which is the projection or the manifestation. And it feels like that there's an individual who's been good enough to, whatever the tale is of any religion, going to heaven, for Hindus, they don't have a heaven. There's no afterlife.
Is it reincarnation?
No, reincarnation. That's what I'm talking about. Is there's no
Okay.
reincarnation of a Fred or a Cheryl, because there's no Fred or Cheryl that's been incarnated yet. So how it cannot be reincarnated when it hasn't incarnated yet. But there could very well have been an appearance, which we have labeled Cheryl or Fred. And within that appearance, there's been an action and a reaction, but that is pure relativity. There's no action or reaction within oneness. Everything already just is. It is as it is. And that human beings cannot stand that idea. They just can't stand the idea that what do you mean this is it? This is not what I had in mind. I don't remember there being a requirement that divinity follow Fred's directions about the way things should be. So the way things should be is just imagination. There is no way things should be. There's the way things are. When we talk about karma, just notice that that's time. That I'm doing something and later something else will happen. Might be a split second, might be 1,000 years, but that action caused a reaction. That's just it's really it may be a very vivid one, and it may feel like it's a different kind of one or whatever. It's still another illusion within oneness. Because if we want to go just another step, which is just so I can drive you crazy before you leave today, understand that even oneness is not true. It's very, very skillful, and it's very, very true-ish. It's quite truth-like, but it's not truth. What's truth is that. Even Nisargadatta, the only thing he could come up with was that. And I have not improved on that. It's you are that. What do you mean by that? You are that. And you can either know it or know of it. You can't really know it because you're it. There's not someone to know truth and or someone to report on truth plus truth. There's only truth, and truth can or cannot, will or will not experience itself. If truth experiences itself, typically what in Zen they have a really good way of putting it, which we don't have any equivalent that I know of in non-duality. Well, Zen is non-duality, but specifically also Zen, which is, but they have Kensho. Kensho is a glimpse. Yeah, that's right, Brian. We can know the supreme reality only by being it. It is confusing until it's not. And you don't try to figure this out. Don't try to put what I'm saying together, because you'll put it together wrong. It's not something that can be, it's not a piece of, it's not a puzzle with pieces all over the place that we can put together. It's about puzzle without other. There's nothing outside of the puzzle that could come to solve the whatever it was I just said. Sorry, old age and 12 hours of anesthesia a couple of years ago have left my memory somewhat off. And thank God I have Betsy. Yeah, I would still get up in the morning, but I might not know who I was. But I know love. I know love. I don't know love as something else, but I know love as myself. What is that divinity? We can't say, but we have given it a name. We kind of ruined it, but the name is love. The name of love is usually it's an expression of that same thing in Zen. It's sort of a kensho-like experience. When you meet somebody and you fall in love with them, you don't do that. It just happens. Because in some sort of very tiny, distorted sort of way, you've recognized yourself. And that's the reason that the one that you're in love with looks and says, I love you too, but I am a serial killer. And you go, oh, that's all right. That's all right. We can live with that. Because you know that love is perfect. But it's not something you have. It's something that you are. It's the only thing, and it's that only thing is what you are. It's oneness. And what I can tell you, or it's not oneness, excuse me, it's noneness, is that's the thing that doesn't know itself. This is Fred language alert. It's just my way of trying to make the unspeakable a little more speakable for us. Karma is actually a form of love, because there is something and then there's something else. But there's only one thing. But the falling in love with yourself feels like you are falling in love with that divinity out there, with that person who is simply divine, right? Well, you use the words. You only notice you. That's the reason I asked you when, was it you, Brian, that I asked who woke up? I mean, I knew you knew, but I just wanted you to tell them. It was just a setup. So the only thing that can wake up to awakeness is awakeness. The only thing that can notice oneness has to be oneness. It is oneness that recognizes oneness, but oneness is not. It's oneness and relativity are identical. How about that? Because oneness is the expression of the inexpressible. Oneness is the expression of the mystery, but it's not the mystery itself. We don't know what that is. We can feel oh, there's something beyond this. I can feel it because we can feel drawn. We don't feel drawn to seek for it. We seek only to, and the word is not right, but I'll say understand it. But what the final understanding here, another teacher talks about the final understanding really, really well, Ramesh Balsekar. But the final here, the final understanding here was really that there's no understanding this. If you can accept that there's no understanding this, you're halfway there. You're more than halfway there. Because what we're asking an imaginary character to remember truth. We're asking a shadow to think about what causes it. And does a shadow need your opinion or approval? No, it doesn't. What does it really need? Nothing that I know of. So let me stop there and just check because I can't see the darn room and I can't figure out how to make this big again. If there's a hand raised, let me stop and recognize you now and you can say something and I'll let you. Oh, Cindy. Oh, there you are. Okay, I can see when a hand's raised. I didn't know that. And I see you, Cindy.
Hi again, Fred. Did everything get small or is it your view?
What? Yeah, it's just, yeah, I must have done something, but it just, my whole screen is now about 1/5 of what it was. I've got a big screen here and I'm using that much of it. It runs all the way down. So it's the longitude. Oh, wait a minute. There, I can just pull it out. I had no idea.
Yay!
Yeah. Okay, that's not all the way, but it's far enough. I'm with you now.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I didn't lose it. I was gonna ask you, as far as like staying conscious of being aware, staying conscious, is there a willfulness that can stay conscious? I mean, can we keep ourselves from going unconscious?
So yeah, I'm going to answer this in so that it'll be helpful, but let me first answer it by way of truth. Notice right now that consciousness is asking me how it can keep consciousness. How right? And you can't keep it. But what you really want to know is how do I make consciousness conscious of itself? And you really already do that just by being born. But if you don't know, if you just to know that you're conscious, somebody can tell you, your oneness or your consciousness or your God or your divinity or your the absolute beyond which nothing else is, the one without a second. These are all great, and they're all right on pointers, but none of them are really true. Because this whole session, this is consciousness. This unit, this is consciousness. The hands, I'm not doing the hands. And if you want to see how this works, really, this will be unfathomable, but it's unfathomable to me, so it's not like you're missing something. These hands cannot be, I didn't raise these hands, they raised. And these hands cannot raise like this unless the entire universe is on board with that. The entire universe has to be and on board with that because there's no room for error here. I don't know that you'll find it everywhere, but I looked up, I took Western philosophy using reference books and stuff. I took that as far as I could I mean, I'd already done it, but I wanted to see what they thought about it. And you go to the end of the relative experience, so to speak, and at some point, even relative philosophy, even philosophy like they teach in college, it will tell you there's really no expression for this. There's no word, there's no nothing, because there's no experience that can be had of that which you are. You can't, you're experiencing yourself right now, but you're really only experiencing an image of yourself, and the image is being projected by this brain and yours, and we don't have the same world. There's enough in common that we can follow a common language and follow laws and all of that. But it's not the same. There's no objective world out there. There's no objective world. There's no objective people. There is consciousness, and then there is the content of consciousness. The images that you see, like this and like this and every other image, every other thing, you are not a thing. You are not a noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. You're not a noun. You're much more akin to being a verb. You are I sometimes say the verbness of you, the verbness of you, because verb is not quite on the money either. But there's nothing static. When I talk about my world, I'm talking about what this unit is experiencing right now if I'm not awake. Or if I'm awake and I'm just using relative language. This is not our experience. Feels like it. This is awakeness's experience. This is awakeness experiencing itself as everybody in this room and this room. And the little dog who's pestering me for a treat. There you go. I just gave God a treat. Why not? You can't not love that expression. What are you really in love with? Yourself. And when you get to know yourself objectively, like from a human perspective, that's what's happening here. There's a dream that you have a human perspective within this dream. You're within this dreaming, because there's not a beginning and an end to the dream. There's just the dreaming. There may be there's a beginning and end for the localized experience of a dream, in the same way that there is of life. There's an experience that seems to come and go, but it never comes and it never goes. There's only life. There's no opposite to life. Death is not an opposite to life. Life has no opposite. Just life. When we talk of oneness, that's so skillful and it's so close. And when we come to recognize oneness, that is conventional enlightenment, and it's quite an experience. Everybody reports that they had, but just like me, when I woke up in 1992, that it was a very fast experience, very quick, because there was awakening, and then shortly thereafter there was Fred claiming, "I woke up, I can't believe it, I finally got it, I finally got it." Impossible. There's no Fred Davis that's ever awake. You're not talking, looking at awakened Fred Davis. You're looking at yourself through it in it with a different form. And you're thinking, how can I be everything? I can't see around Fred's room. And I'm going to tell you that you can. You can see around this room. You can see everything in this room. I can see everything in your room. But when I see it looking at everything in your room, I'm not using that unit or this unit to do it. I'm using that unit. I can see Cheryl's sofa and I can see the room behind or that Brian is in. But if I really want to see it, I use the Brian unit, because what's looking through these eyes is exactly the same thing that is looking through your eyes. They're just one consciousness of you. This is it. This is consciousness. And there's no experience that runs counter to this. There's just this. And it's only exactly like it is now. So any idea that this should be different, quite frankly, it's insanity. And you will suffer from that insanity until you become willing to see the truth. Some people in this room have come to see the truth, and some of them have come to see the truth with me, but I didn't do it because there's no Fred here. It means that awakeness came to see that it was not really a Monica. Isn't that right, dear? Yeah, it's just using that vehicle in order to see itself, because it comes to know itself objectively, which is a fabulous experience. And you get to fall in love with yourself in a different sort of way, because you can have these exquisite feelings when you notice one is, oh God Almighty, I am the tree, I am the sky. Oh, this is perfect. I am the waterfall. I am it. And that's true. But what's saying I am it is it. It's not something else declaring that it also is it. There's no also it, there's just it. And it's just like this. And it's just now and nothing else. It's our time is up. It's been lovely. I would say I wish that we had more company, but I don't. Everybody, it was exactly what I said to begin with. Everybody that's supposed to be here was. Did it meet the unit's expectations? No. Does it matter? No. Thank you very much. Come see me. Come see me in satsang tomorrow. I'll drop Louise a note, and everybody who's actually in this room you're welcome to a free satsang tomorrow too, but it may be my regular satsang with my regular folks. Thank you. I love you. Bye for now.